Have you ever wondered about student grade paint? Like, what is it, why does it exist, and why you should use it? In the acrylic painting world, there's a lot of conversation that is happening around the subject of student grade paints. And the common consensus seems to be that if you are a non-professional artist, you should start out with using student paint and work your way up to higher end paint. But my take on that advice is nope. Nope. Even if you're just starting out, I do not believe that you should spend your precious learning time and diminish your joy by using inferior paint, especially because there's hardly any cost difference between the two. Let's look into it in more detail. First off, a couple of notes here. There are many painting styles out there, and this video will probably be most helpful to those of you who want color and pigment to play an important role in your art, which means you are likely applying your paint intentionally with a focus on vivid, rich tones. For example, Expressionism is the type of painting style that I do. Also, this clip covers paint availability in the United States, because that's where I live. If you are located outside of the US, paint shopping in your country might be different. In some locations, there's only one or two different kinds of acrylic paint available, in which case, go with what you can get. And lastly, this content is not sponsored or endorsed by any of the stores or brands that this video will mention. Okay, so what exactly is student grade paint? Student grade is simply lower quality paint. And what makes it lower quality? It has less pigment, which is the expensive stuff, and more binder. That's the cheap stuff. It also has no high-end, harder to source pigment, such as cadmium or cobalt. Those are the ones that give you the most vivid colors, and those are also the most expensive. Student grade paint comes in series 1 only. It doesn't break down into series 1, 2, 3, 4, so it doesn't separate by the difference in pigment quality that is in the paint. So to imitate higher series, for example, to imitate something like a cadmium, student grade would use a combination of lower quality pigments to create the same color. And in the end, that color comes out looking similar, but not quite as rich and not quite as vivid. Because they are more diluted with binder, that is, student grade acrylic colors provide lower opacity and less coverage, which means if you are painting a section of your piece, you will probably have to go over it more times to get better full coverage as opposed to professional quality paint.
Professional quality and artist quality pretty much mean the same thing, so feel free to substitute those terms with one another.
So with that information, here's a story. A couple of months ago, I wanted to change the wall color in my living room. So I had to do some wall painting, not art painting, interior wall painting. So I went to home improvement store, and there were a few choices of latex wall paint. There was the standard regular paint, which was about $30 a gallon. And there was high-end top-of-the-line paint that was $60 a gallon. And it guaranteed one coat coverage. So given those choices, which one would you go with? I mean, when you do the math, the choice is obvious. Of course, you buy top-of-the-line high-end paint because instead of putting 2 coats on each wall of your room, you can get away with 1 coat, so the price ends up being the same. And it also saves you time and energy suck. High-end paint wins by miles because you come out of this project much happier and less exhausted.
Side note, did you know that latex wall paint dries lighter after you apply it, and acrylic paint dries darker? That is because of the difference in the type of binder that those paints use.
Okay, let's get back to acrylic paint for artists. Now let's take a look at how these different grades of paint actually look like when they are applied to canvas. So here's the color Raw Sienna. On the left side, it is a student grade paint, and on the right side is artist grade. They are slightly different in tone. And when it comes to earth pigments, they're pretty forgiving. The earth pigment is really easy to source. So any colors that are like brown, beige, of these types of tones, they translate better into lower quality paint because they still maintain their richness as opposed to other pigments that are harder to source. So this color is probably going to be pretty friendly on canvas in both grades. Let's see what it looks like. Instead of testing paint on a blank sheet of canvas, I prepared this little painting outline that is going to become a piece of art with a bicycle. So it makes it more fun to test different colors on this piece. So I'm gonna start with student grade raw sienna, and I'm gonna put it right in this little road area. So as you can see, it came out pretty transparent for the first coat, but not too bad. And now let's do higher quality professional grade raw sienna. Both types of paint don't look too terrible, but there is a distinct difference between the two. The darker paint that is professional grade has more coverage, and the top part of the road that is done in student quality paint is just not very even, and it has more transparency. Next color test is going to be phthalo blue. My phthalo blue is made by Golden, and I already know it's going to be transparent because of this indicator on the paint bottle. But let's test the paint consistency with this one. So like before, on the left I have student grade, and on the right I have professional grade. First, I'm starting with student grade paint. I'm gonna cover this mountain right here. Pretty thin, not too bad, but pretty thin. And now I'm going to do artist quality paint for the mountain next door. Again, this paint on the right is more consistent. It is more vivid, it is richer. This one is more watered down. I've used the same amount of water in my brush for both of them, but this one is much more diluted with binder. So again, you're just gonna need more coats on this side to achieve the same coverage as this side has. Here, I'm gonna apply a second coat of student grade. They start to look quite similar. So as you can see, it takes 2 coats of lesser quality paint to achieve the same result as you have with professional grade paint. Moving on, I have the color by the name of sap green. On the left side, I have student grade color, and on the right side, I'm going to be using artist grade. Starting off at the top with student grade color, and this bottom section is going to be professional grade. Same color story between these two. The tone of these colors is actually quite similar, but this one is more diluted, more transparent, and this one is more consistent and less transparent. And the professional paint that I've used for this test is Liquitex Heavy Body, and it is a Series 2. My very last comparison is going to be between Alizarin Crimson Hue by Liquitex Basics, and this comparison is going to be not very scientific because the pigment that I have here is different. I actually don't have any professional alizarin crimson paint on me, so I'm using a very similar color. This one is called Muted Pink by Liquitex Heavy Body. So here it is. And just for fun, I'm going to get another professional grade paint, which is also by Liquitex Heavy Body. This one is called Deep Magenta. So I'm using 2 professional comparisons to put next to alizarin pigment. And the reason I wanted to show you the red and pink pigments in student grade colors is because these are notoriously difficult pigments to get right. Student grade paint tends to really fail when it comes to red, magenta, these types of pigments that are usually more expensive in artist quality paint. First off, student grade alizarin crimson. So to me, this one fails. It has hardly any coverage. It's going to take many coats to become opaque, and I just don't think it looks good. It looks like paint for a child. I'm not happy with this one. Next up is muted pink. See the difference? Similar tone, much better quality. And last up is deep magenta. So this one is going to be a little bit more violet, but being a professional color gives you much more satisfaction. Ah, so pretty. Here's a closer look at all three colors. None of them are fully opaque, but the one at the top is the most washed out. Magenta and alizarin hues are extremely difficult to get in high opacity, so all the paints by any brands will have some transparency within them. But as you can see, artist grade paint comes out far better than this version right here. Now, second coat in these colors just for fun. Student grade alizarin still comes out looking a little blah. Muted pink, solid, and deep magenta. Not too bad. I hope this little test gave you an idea of how student grade paint behaves against professional grade. And now cost breakdown. Let's talk about how much these babies actually cost you. The prices I'm about to give are based on the information from art supply sellers in late spring of 2021. There are a few different kinds of student-grade acrylic paints out there, but one of the most popular brands is Liquitex Basics. And most of the colors come in 4-ounce tubes that look like this, and these are priced about $5 per tube, no matter the color, because they're all in the same series. That comes out to be $1.25 per ounce. Now, moving on to professional grade paints. On the more expensive side, one of my favorite brands is Liquitex Heavy Body, and these guys come in 2-ounce tubes. Some of them come in larger tubes where you would pay less per ounce, but most of the colors are available in this size, and they're priced between $7.34 to $15.30 per tube. Because these paint come in different series, so the price comes out to be between $3.67 and $7.65 per ounce. That is way more expensive than Liquitex Basics, right? But do remember that Liquitex Basics doesn't have a very solid coverage. So you would need 2 coats or maybe even 3 coats of Liquitex Basics to achieve the same level of coverage as you do with something like Liquitex Heavy Body. The price range of Golden Heavy Body and other artist grade beautiful paint are the same as Liquitex Heavy Body, so the numbers are pretty similar. Next up on the expensive side is Golden Fluid Acrylics. Oh, I love this paint. It has low viscosity, hence the name fluid. It flows, and it comes in many different container sizes. Their smallest container is only 1 ounce, but I think it's really expensive and not economical. So I will use 4-ounce container as a guide for my pricing comparison. And these size containers are priced between $11.47 and $22.67. So again, for the lower serious numbers, it will be on the low end of the price range, and the most expensive pigments like cobalt is almost 23 bucks. So the price per ounce for these comes out to be between $2.86 and $5.66. So again, for the low serious number, it's definitely worth it to buy this paint, and it would be very comparable with student grade as far as the price per ounce goes, because you would use less of this paint to achieve the same amount of coverage. Now we're going to jump to the cheap side of artist grade paint. Here is Soho Acrylic. They call themselves Urban Artist Acrylic, and this paint is available exclusively on Jerry's Artorama website because it's their own paint brand. And this paint is kind of a hybrid between student grade and professional, because while it qualifies itself as a professional artist paint, it actually doesn't come in different serious numbers, and it doesn't use a variety of higher end pigments. So it behaves as if this was student grade paint. This paint only comes in one kind and one series, but it is much richer and it offers better coverage. So this is like the very bottom starter set when it comes to artist grade paint. The cool thing about Soho is that it also comes in little sampler sizes. These offer a great way to try this paint out and see which colors may work for you. I'm going to review the pricing of these size tubes, and Soho is actually priced in milliliters on the website, which is a bit of a pain because you have to convert it to ounces to really see the value of this paint. So these tubes are 75 milliliters, which comes out to be 2.5 ounces, and they are only priced $2.70 per tube, no matter which color. That is a steal. This is less expensive than most of the student grade paint out there. That's amazing. And that comes out to be only $1.08 per ounce. Soho is a great option for starting out with professional grade paint. Just remember that some of their colors that are intended to be brighter may not be as good as super high quality professional paint, but you can adjust your collection as you go. And last but certainly not least, professional grade paint is my favorite. This is Nova Color paint, and it is not sold through any art stores. It is only available directly from the manufacturer on Nova Color website, and their colors are amazing. Just look how luscious and rich these tones are. And because they don't sell through third-party guys, their pricing is actually much lower than comparable quality paint, such as high-end Liquitex or Golden. The smallest size this paint comes in is 4-ounce container, which is this guy right here. And the pricing of their paint, again, it depends on the pigment, so it ranges from $5.50 to $10.25. But the most expensive color that they have is Cobalt, which seems to be just the priciest pigment ever, and that one comes out to be $15 per 4-ounce container. Price per ounce for Nova ranges between $1.37 to $2.56 for most colors, with the exception of Cobalt, which ends up being $3.75 per ounce. This pricing you just can't beat for the quality that you get with Nova. It comes out to be more economical for the most part than student grade paint if you consider how luscious this is, if you consider how easy the coverage is, and if you take into consideration the more expensive pigments as well. Side note, I think Nova has a minimum order amount of $40 or $45 or something like that. So now that you got to go through a few different kinds of artist grade paint options, hopefully you can see how math works out in your favor if you go with higher end artist grade paint. Give yourself permission, no matter who you are, no matter what your painting experience is, to take student grade paint off your shopping list and explore the world of beautiful pigments. Assembling your perfect paint collection is a gradual process. There's trial and error involved. For example, I purchased many different colors by different brands, and if I don't like a specific color, I try to move on to other paint manufacturers to see if somebody else makes it better. And throughout my trial and error, I have determined which colors I like by which brands. For example, my cadmium red, Liquitex Heavy Body. Light violet I love in Golden Heavy Body. Dark violet I prefer to buy in Nova brand. And phthalo blue I like in Fluid Acrylics by Golden. And these are my personal favorite preferences that I have selected over years and years of painting. And that means, of course, that I end up with a lot of backup paint colors. But I don't view it as a stressful thing because I use them, and exploring and trying out new paint is always fun for me. And I end up not wasting any paint because it still becomes used even if it's the color that I don't necessarily love. If you're not sure yet about making your painting into a repeated practice, if you're like, maybe this is gonna be one and done for me, maybe I'm gonna just get my feet wet and try this thing out, in that case, just buy a sampler set. here's the sampler set of Soho that I have covered in this clip. And this thing is like, at the time of the recording of this video, it's like 13 bucks. This is crazy low price for 24 different colors. They're really small in size, but it is such a perfect thing to start with. And then as you run out of specific colors, you can get more of them if you decide to continue with this painting thing that you're trying out. If you're finding this content useful, you know what to do. Subscribe. And then also come over to my website for art and acrylic painting workshops. In conclusion, I believe that the most important thing an artist gets out of painting is how this practice develops your mindset, your sense of color, your imagination, the pure joy an artist gets when there's a sense of accomplishment with artwork creation cannot be replicated. But we all have limited brain energy. So do you want to spend that energy on the repetitive tasks of going over layers of inferior paint, or do you want to have vivid quality colors that engage your imagination and save your brain power for creative decisions? When I upgraded to higher-end professional paint, it improved my practice tremendously. So now you may be saying, Anastasia, I have a big pile of student-grade paint. What am I to do, throw it out? No, I never condone throwing paint out. Experiment with it if you haven't done so already, and try to determine how it can be useful to you, because it can always be used in the underpainting layer of your piece. It's that very first messy layer on the bottom that you put down to cover up the whiteness of your canvas. So play around, have fun. Hopefully this will give you guidance on how to improve your future pieces of art and make them more beautiful. Thank you for taking your time to watch this. Bye for now.